the electrical contractor is incorrect in asserting that Article 670 applies to the installation of the control panel for a pump. Article 670 pertains to industrial control panels, and based on the information provided, the pump control panel does not meet the definition of an industrial control panel. Article 110.26 of the National Electrical Code, specifically Section 110.26, outlines the requirements for working space around electrical equipment. This article mandates a minimum clearance of at least 3 feet in front of electrical equipment operating at 600 volts or less to permit safe operation and maintenance of such equipment. This requirement is universally applicable to all electrical equipment installations, irrespective of whether they are located in an industrial plant or any other type of facility. The assertion that the industrial setting exempts the installation from compliance with Section 110.26 is incorrect. Article 670 of the NEC applies specifically to industrial control panels. The NEC defines an industrial control panel as a complete, factory-assembled, self-contained unit consisting of components such as switches, relays, contactors, and timers, together with associated control devices and supporting structures, enclosed in a common housing. The pump control panel, being a custom-built assembly of components not enclosed in a common housing, does not align with this definition. Furthermore, Article 670 applies to industrial control panel enclosures. An industrial control panel enclosure is defined as a completely enclosed structure that contains one or more industrial control panels. If the pump control panel is not enclosed in such a structure, this provision of Article 670 is not applicable. Lastly, Article 670 pertains to industrial control panel installations, defined as the installation of one or more industrial control panels and their associated wiring and other components. If the pump control panel is considered a stand-alone piece of equipment rather than part of an industrial control panel installation, this section of Article 670 does not apply. Because the control panel for a pump is not an industrial control panel enclosure, or an industrial control panel installation, Article 670 does not apply to its installation. Since a control panel does not fall under the purview of Article 670, the relevant code section governing its installation is Article 110.26, which, as previously stated, requires a minimum clearance of 3 feet in front of the panel. To reiterate, Article 110.26 applies to the installation of the control panel for a pump, and it mandates a clearance of at least 3 feet in front of the panel to ensure safe access for operation, maintenance, and repair. Article 110.26 dictates that sufficient access and working space shall be provided and maintained about all electrical equipment to permit ready and safe operation and maintenance of such equipment. It is imperative to adhere to these clearance requirements to prevent electrical hazards and ensure the safety of personnel working on or near the equipment. The depth of the working space and the direction of access to live parts shall not be less than specified in Table 110.26 on. Distances shall be measured from the exposed live parts or from the enclosure front if such are enclosed. Concrete, brick, or tile walls shall be considered as grounded. In addition to the depth requirements, the width of the working space in front of the electrical equipment shall be the width of the equipment or 30 inches, 762 millimeters, whichever is greater. In all cases, the working space shall permit at least a 90-degree opening of equipment doors or hinged panels. The height of the working space shall be clear and extend from the grade, floor, or platform to a height of 6½ feet, 1.98 meters, or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. Within these working spaces, no foreign or extraneous equipment should be located. This includes piping, ducts, or other equipment that could obstruct access to the electrical equipment. Adequate illumination shall be provided for all working spaces about electrical equipment. The location of luminaires shall be such that persons changing lamps or making repairs on the lighting system will not be endangered by live parts or other equipment. The NEC provides specific requirements for working space based on voltage levels and condition of the installation. These conditions, known as Condition 1, Condition 2, and Condition 3, dictate the minimum depth of working space required. Condition 1 exists where there are exposed live parts or exposed grounded parts on one side and grounded on the other side of the working space. Condition 2 exists where there are exposed live parts on one side and insulated on the other side of the working space. Condition 3 exists where there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space. The minimum depth of working space for 480 volts equipment, which is the voltage of the pump control panel in question, varies depending on the condition. It is important to consult Table 110.26 in the National Electrical Code to determine the appropriate working space depth based on the specific installation conditions. Ensuring compliance with these working space requirements is crucial for the safety of electricians and other qualified personnel who may need to access the equipment for maintenance or repair. It is also a fundamental aspect of meeting the NEC overall objective of safeguarding persons and property from hazards arising from the use of electricity. In addition to the working space requirements, it is important to ensure that the electrical equipment is properly grounded. Grounding helps to prevent electrical shock hazards and provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which can trip a circuit breaker or fuse and to energize the circuit. The NEC provides detailed requirements for grounding electrical equipment in Article 250. It is important to follow these requirements carefully to ensure the safety of the installation. Furthermore, it is essential to ensure that all electrical equipment is properly labeled and identified. This includes labeling circuit breakers, disconnect switches, and other components to indicate their function and the circuits they control. Proper labeling helps to prevent confusion and errors during maintenance and repair activities. The NEC provides requirements for labeling electrical equipment in Article 110. It is important to comply with these requirements to ensure the safety and efficiency of the installation. Regularly inspect electrical equipment to identify any signs of damage or deterioration. This includes checking for loose connections, corroded wires, and damaged insulation. Any problems should be corrected promptly to prevent electrical hazards and ensure the reliability of the equipment. The NEC provides guidance on the inspection and maintenance of electrical equipment in Article 110. It is important to follow this guidance to ensure the safety and longevity of the installation. Only qualified personnel should perform electrical work. Qualified personnel are those who have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience to safely perform electrical work. The NEC defines qualified persons in Article 100. It is important to ensure that only qualified personnel are involved in the installation, maintenance, and repair of electrical equipment. In summary, the electrical contractor's assertion that Article 670 applies to the installation of the pump control panel is incorrect. Article 110.26 mandates a minimum clearance of 3 feet in front of electrical equipment operating at 600 volts or less, and this requirement applies to the pump control panel, regardless of its location in an industrial plant. Adhering to these clearance requirements, along with proper grounding, labeling, inspection, and maintenance practices, is essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical installations. Consulting the National Electrical Code and seeking guidance from qualified electrical professionals are crucial steps in ensuring compliance with all applicable requirements. Remember to always prioritize safety when working with electrical equipment.